Hi, I'm Relax, and this week I'm going to be recording with Grixis Delver in Modern. So I've definitely started, Worlds testing, but this is the baseline deck of the format, like this or the Delverless versions, and it's the deck I have the least experience with among the baseline decks. Um, so I figured I should get in the reps. It's something that I could, in theory, actually am considering playing honestly. But at the same time, it doesn't give away a lot because even if I'm not considering playing it, I'm gaining from testing it because you know I do need to see how this performs against the field. And this deck and its variants are currently the most represented finishers on Magic Online, I believe. Um, wow, that card does not get happy in the preview window. Anyways, so talk about the deck. It's very cantrip heavy. The idea is that these support the new Delve creatures as fast aggressive threats. You have a split on Gurmags and Tassigurs because Gurmag trumps a 4/5, so opposing Tassigurs or Goyfs get trumped by a Gurmag. Also because drawing multiple Tassigur is bad, drawing Tassigur plus a Gurmag is good. And Fish Zombie puts away games pretty fast, or Zombie Fish. Yeah, I guess if you want to go by species job, Fish is its job. It is a zombie, but it's busy fishing it up in the marsh. Um, this list is a bit lighter on Young Pyromancers. I do want to say this is, I believe, Jamie. I'm not even it. Oh my gosh, I'm not even gonna try to pronounce his last name. Oimet, yeah, or Justin. Sorry, Justin Oimet. Is he top forward the Star City Premier IQ this weekend, uh, alongside the Open in DC with this deck. Um, I did not check how the bracket played out, but he either lost to. Well, I'm gonna guess that he lost to the Collected Company deck, because that deck seems like it's good against this deck, the like Zoo Collected Company deck. But anyways, back on this deck. So that's who. Back on track. That's who this deck was played by. He's a bit lighter on Young Pyromancer than most lists. I think 3 or so is usually the standard. I think that the no Delver lists even play up to 4. I'm not sure how I feel about that yet. I'll have to play some matches. Um, this card was pretty powerful in the Cruise era, but again, this is not the Cruise era. Delver's pretty mediocre in Modern. You don't have cantrips to set it up, and it's just like it's a card that's actually just generally mediocre in formats that aren't Brainstorm Ponder. So in Standard, it was like solid because you had Ponder, and Legacy it's broken because you have Brainstorm and Ponder. In Modern, it's just fine. It's another cheap threat, so you can race efficiently. Snapcaster is obviously kind of the glue that puts this deck together. It's basically Bloodbraid Elf, which is banned in the format. Um, yeah, it's just Bloodbraid Elf, except for you always hit what you want with the Cascade. It's just great. I don't feel like I really need to talk more about this card. If you're not playing 4, you're crazy. Um, Sorry, if you're playing a number less than 4 and more than 0, you're crazy. There's reasons to play 0. For example, if your deck is 28 lands and basically no instant sorceries, and you're playing Primeval Titans, that would be a reason. Uh, this list is pretty light on stack interaction, though it's really just like Remand over Mana Leak, because you're expecting Remand to be more alive in mirrors because you can Remand Snapcastered spells. That's like a pretty big use, whereas Mana Leak can get dead going late, because the mirrors do go late, and there are times where like you can't Mana Leak this card really effectively sometimes in the mid game because your opponent's just leaving up their mana anyways, because they're like, oh, I'll delve all my stuff away and leave up my trick, and you're like, well, can make you pay 3, and then your 5/5 resolves. That's still bad for me. Um, so that's why there's more remand. It's also a little more effective. Well, it's about equally effective against Twin. Spellsnare is great. Counters a lot of threats. This card beats up on John attacks their Tarmogoyfs and Bobs, which is how they beat you. Mizo Spell Pierce, you can play stuff like this in your all cantrips, Thought Scour, Snapcaster Mage deck, where it's just like, it's in my graveyard. Oh, look, I want it this time. Um, a split on Terminate and Go for the Throat. The advantage to Go for the Throat is not costing red, which is good, both for coming. It's more effective against burn because you don't have to fetch a red and a black source early and take potential additional damage. This card also is additionally effective against Spellskite, um, As weird as it sounds, typically the setup with Spellskite is that you have like Spellskite Exarch Twin or like Spellskite Melira combo, and then you go for the throw their piece, and they're like, "That my Spellskite's not a legal target for that, is it?" No. And then their thing dies, and they're stuck with like Spellskite and nothing, so you win. Lightning Bolt, Kolaghan's Command. That's the other powerful card that lets you grind in the mirrors. This is really just how you win mirrors. Without this card, you don't really do anything. Electrolyze as a alternative to command that does more work against some of the mana creature decks. Against Infect. Not actually sure if it's better than command here. It does more work against, well, that's not even true. I'm not actually sure it's better than command. Let's just go back to saying that. And there's 19 lands. Decent amount of fetches. Again, you are fueling Delve. Decent amount of basics. You do need to beat Blood Moon. One mountain for painless damage. A swamp. Sulfur Walls kind of tied together because you don't really need that many steam vents. One of the other duels, pretty obviously. Sideboard I've kind of split up, and you can kind of see a trend is that this heavy emphasis on Snapcaster Mage and cantrips pushes you away from high power and high impact cards towards these versatile answers that you get to recycle and reuse over and over because your deck is pretty big on mana efficiency, and playing clunky cards like Blood Moon in large amounts makes your hand sometimes unplayable. And instead, you'd rather like draw your Rending Volley and Rending Volley your thing, and then snap it back later, and effectively you can milk that one card for enough advantage that it's comparable to these cards. Going through Dispel for blue mirrors and some of the combo decks like Storm and Goryo's. Flash Freeze is like secretly one of the better counter spells in the format of the sideboard. There's a lot of red and green combo pieces that this just KOs. It's gotten worse now that Scape Shift is no longer one of them, but still counters Primeval Titan. Negate, again, blue mirrors, combo. Rakdos Charm, Affinity, twin style combo decks. I don't want to say it's great against them, but if they're still in the combo post forward, it does its job. And it can also counter Snapcaster Mage. It's just not like always 100% dead or whatever. And then there's the graveyard part, which is obviously, there are randomly graveyard decks, and just having this card in your sideboard just gets them. Like the Dredgevine deck or whatever. Dreadbore just is another way to kill something. I'm not too sure how many. I guess killing Liliana matters. I'll just say that. But I think that's like the only Planeswalker that people, in theory, some people have Jace Architect of Thought in their sideboards. There's some like nonsense decks with the Johnny or whatever, but realistically, this is just pretty similar to Terminate. Rending Volley, I actually don't really like this card. I'm kind of just playing the list as is to see, but I have a feeling that I guess the advantage of this card against Twin is nice, but I don't see a lot of utility outside that matchup, especially as you're targeting, the Blue Mirrors. They just have a lot of this stuff that you can't target, and this that you don't really want to. I honestly feel like the Grixis Twin decks are going to board out their combo against you. So this card's pretty, I'm not super excited by it. Tribute, takes out a big creature, takes out maybe a Titan if you're lucky. Realistically, this card is a way to gain life and a way to get Bogles. Because look at this, your deck cannot interact with the Hexproof creature. Not shocking, because Hexproof is not a inherently interactable mechanic, but maybe you have an out. Vandal Blast over Shatterstorm, because it's still a modular spell. You can go, Vandal Blast your thing, Snapcaster it, kill your thing, kill all your stuff. Or you can just Vandal Blast, kill all of their stuff in one shot. A Blood Moon, because Mize, that covers a lot of things. Dragon's Claw kind of shows that the Grixis versus Burn matchup's not the best in the world. And this is pretty much the best hate card that this deck can have. Snapcaster is just awesome. It kills so many things and beats so many decks. I don't even need to be talking and playing it. Pretty much ever. It just is just such a sweeping effect. Affinity, Infect, Elves are some of the big ones. Company decks, tokens, not kind of Merfolk, but not really. Like, if you just play with this card in your deck, you just like find these spots where you're just like, oh, it does that too, and then it kills all these, and then this, and it's probably good in the mirror even if they have Delvers and Pyros and Snaps to kill. Yeah. Then a Bitter Blossom because mirror. If you stick this card in the mirror, racing it's a bit more possible than it used to be, but it's pretty powerful, and definitely puts you in a very good spot where you just get to be reactive while being proactive. Um, same thing Bitter Blossom has always done. This list could definitely use some. I have a feeling this list could use some tweaks, but it's not like these are like the cards of the deck all make sense for a certain scenario. But it feels like there's like numbers that can be shifted around to optimize the 75. That's how I feel about this. But I'm interested to see how this deck kind of performs against the field, and just get a feel for playing with this card versus not this card versus leak, just the little things like that.